Coming up on Smart Tech Today, Matthew Cassinelli and I talk about some new additions to Amazon, including the Care Hub for elder and family care, Amazon making it easier to connect to all those different smart devices in your home, and an in-depth understanding of Thread, that protocol that lots of companies are jumping on board with. Plus, we round things out with our picks of the week. It's all that and more coming up on Smart Tech Today. Smart Tech Today is brought to you from TWiT's LastPass Studios. You're focused on security, but are your employees? Well, LastPass can ensure that they are by making access and authentication seamless, whether employees are working in the office or remotely. Visit lastpass.com/twit to learn more.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
This episode of Smart Tech Today is brought to you by Technology Powers X. Learn how technology and IT departments are reshaping their businesses through an original podcast from Dell Technologies. Search for Technology Powers X anywhere you listen to podcasts and download each episode today. And by ArmorLock. Take control of your data privacy with G Technology's ArmorLock NVMe SSD. That's solid state drive. Never again compromise speed for security. Go to getarmorlock.com to learn more and get yours today. And by Command Line Heroes, a podcast that tells the epic true tales of developers, programmers, hackers, geeks, and open source rebels who are revolutionizing the technology landscape. Search for Command Line Heroes anywhere you listen to podcasts. Welcome back to Smart Tech Today, where we explain the exciting, the dynamic, and the sometimes confusing subject that is the Internet of Things. I am Mikah Sargent.
And I am Matthew Cassinelli. Hello, Mikah. How are you doing this fine Monday morning?
On this fine Monday morning, I am doing well, sir. Thank you. How about you?
Glad to hear it. I am doing well as well. I feel like I had an actually fairly productive week, which is nice. So
that always feels good when you can sort of look back and say, I achieved, darn it.
Yes, I am achieved.
I am become achieve. Okay, let us launch right into things this week with the first topic that actually ended up kind of being a surprising moment for me, given my tendency to be made uncomfortable by the products that Amazon puts out into the world. And so what surprised me about this one is, as I read about it and began to understand it a little bit more, I began to see how it could actually be helpful and could be a good thing for certain families and certain situations. That is the introduction and the launch of the ALEXA Care Hub, which is Amazon's feature for helping family to care for those who need care. It's a multiple feature kind of hub and system that works with an Echo smart speaker or display. And this was announced, of course, at Amazon's September event. I think we talked about it a little bit at the point, but kind of concerned about the privacy features. But now that it's kind of launched and more people have taken a look into it, I think that it speaks to the potential helpfulness of this product.
Mm-hmm. It definitely makes sense. It's one of those things that smart home products are already used for, just to allow people who don't want to run around and access stuff, use their voice and have a little more simpler control of the home. But I like this too it's like you can monitor general activity, and even like you can get an alert if they haven't used the Echo by a certain time of day, which could, if they have the regular usage of turning on all the lights and something like that, that could be kind of a alert that something's wrong. So I think that makes sense.
Yeah, to be able to check in.
This is like pretty straightforward. It's like Life Alert with a $20 Amazon Echo Mini or something like that. Or did it even? Godot, that's what it is.
Yeah, Godot.
Going with all the mini branding nowadays. But yeah, I think it makes sense, especially it's affordable. And if you already have it all, why not make this a little bit easier to check in with? So
I like this too because, you know, it's the way that they look at, personalization, or excuse me, the way that they look at the privacy implications with the tracking. So one of the things that you can do is it will notice and keep track of activity, but it doesn't go so in depth. So you can see, say you set this up for dad. Dad played music this morning like he always does at this time, but it doesn't say, what the song is, who he's listening to, that kind of thing. It's just some sort of basic details. So you can see that, your family member has some activity during the day. And I think that that's helpful too, as if you start to look at trends, and normally dad listens to music in the morning and checks the news report at this time, and then the next week or this happens regularly for multiple months, and then there's 1 week where the music listening has cut back and the news has cut back, that could be spelling out something going on, be it a mental health thing or whatever it happens to be. So I really like that there is a way to be there for someone without having to incredibly encroach on their privacy. And it's clear that, as Amazon talked about this at the time, and they're talking about it now, autonomy and respect are two kind of big words that are at play in this. So, I would be interested to hear about folks who are using this with family care, with elder care, just to hear about the actual sort of boots on the ground use of it. And then, of course, like you said, the life alert situation where you can set up emergency contacts, and with a simple key phrase, you can reach out to those contacts.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense, especially what you said of, I don't want Amazon to identify longer term trends, but I want to check in on the data and notice it myself. Kind of maybe tracking maybe the usage thing could still be done generally, but I don't want them trying to infer what that means specifically, I guess. But I think it could make sense, especially it is so cheap to do that it can make sense, especially around the holidays, or if people are getting older, just kind of buy yourself peace of mind is kind of what I was thinking, because that's always helpful too, is you're just kind of like not sure sometimes. But nice. Good one for Amazon.
Yeah. And then this one is a feature that I've already seen in play, and I really like it. It's Amazon is making it kind of easier to link its smart home devices to the platform. So right now you can actually say ALEXA or whatever your code word is, discover devices, and it will use your internet connection, your Wi-Fi network, and in some cases the hubs that are built into the devices themselves to look for devices around your house that you can connect to it. So the example that this Engadget article gives is an Xbox console that you can use to basically tie your voice to it. So you can start playing the game just by using your voice. But I mentioned it as a way, and what's interesting is that Engadget says that Amazon is rolling out device discovery in the US, and it'll be available in the coming weeks. I think that this is an iteration on an already available feature that it's improving, because device discovery has been around for a while, and was kind of the way that you used with Hue. It worked for me in the sense that, like I said, I didn't know that my printer was going to work with ALEXA printing, but that ended up being the case. And so it was because when I did the, hey, discover devices, and then suddenly it showed up, I thought, oh, that's awesome. So I think this is great. And just, again, this is one of those things where people get a taste and then they realize the power of the smart home. You know what I mean? And so they're, oh, wow, I didn't realize that my microwave could connect, and I didn't realize that my scanner could connect, and that kind of thing. But yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I think some stuff you might not know is compatible. I think especially for somebody like me who's all in on HomeKit, just not realizing that you didn't have one of these things set up with a similar platform that you're still signed up for. Like I have an Echo as well, but I don't think I have the Xbox One set, and you can't do that stuff with HomeKit. So there could be like some features that are only available on one platform too, and you want to take advantage of both. So that's pretty, I feel like I wrote down the Xbox One specifically because just going straight into the game does make sense to me. That's pretty straightforward. So I'm going to be doing the HomePod Mini versus Echo Dot test thing here soon, and what do I actually use the most kind of situation. So I feel like this is good, especially like you said, your printer, maybe you just didn't even realize it would work, and now it shows up even a little bit more than before. So cool. Nice job, Amazon, again.
Let's see. Google, the Google Home had a feature that the ALEXA devices had as well, that Echo devices had as well. This is what's called brief mode. And this is a feature that I think is one of those don't sleep on it kind of features where you don't realize how helpful it is if it's your kind of thing. And essentially what it does is it makes your device less sassy. It makes your device have a little bit less character. It makes it feel a little bit more robotic. But for some people, that's a good thing, because what it does is it says, I don't really want to hear all these responses and things like that. Just give me the answers that I want. So it just it just kind of acknowledges the commands and makes it so that it's not saying a bunch of responses, and that's it. Yeah, it's brief mode and it's helpful.
I wish one of the reasons I put this in here is you might not realize which platforms do have it, and Apple's definitely doesn't, which has definitely been frustrating. I don't know if you've had this problem lately, but Siri has been misidentifying plurals. So it's like the living room lights is off, and it's just stuff like that. Or one of my, oh yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I have the unique benefit of just not using voice commands for pretty much anything at all, that I can't get upset by them.
I gotta challenge you to actually do that soon.
But it's so frustrating.
You gotta practice.
Listen, my beard is turning gray in large patches because of all of the stress in my life, I guess. That's why I'm bald-faced now, because it looked like there were parts of my beard missing. No, I still had beard there. It was just all gray. So that's why I'm bald-faced right now. Yeah, I don't mind them in my hair. That's fine. Yeah. But when it looks like, it basically looked like when I first started growing a beard in high school and there were large patches missing. And I'm like, I have a beard, I swear. So anyway, I have enough stress in my life, and you want me to add the stress of trying to get these command computers to actually work? I don't know. You know what? That may be the hack that I need, because then my beard will go all gray and then I can grow it back out again.
Get the salt and pepper look.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind that. It's just this weird in-between area where it looks like I have this patchy nonsense that's just very frustrating. So I'm either just going to go just for minute, or I'm going to have to go all gray. So you're right. I should add that stress. Hey, Siri, turn on all the lights in my house.
Okay, all the lights are on.
It did say all the light are on.
Seriously? Oh man, that's hilarious.
Holy cow.
It's got to be around right now. All the light are on.
All the light are on.
I just gotta laugh at that because that's so not smart. That's hilarious. I was also gonna say that was a perfect segue into my favorite Amazon issue is if I tell it to play chill music through Apple Music, it says, okay, playing chill music on Apple Music. And it's just like, or Siri will also be like, now's the time to chill, bro, or something. And it's just like, it doesn't help me relax. It just makes me like groan. So we need this on all platforms. And I would like a shortcut to turn it on and off too. Just throw on that request.
Oh, yeah, like brief mode on, brief mode off.
iOS 14.3 beta is out, and so they've got some new HomeKit stuff. And the main thing is that starting whenever this ends up releasing, you'll be able to actually update your HomeKit accessories via the Home app. So it'll show a little update option in there instead of kicking you out to the third-party provider, you'll be able to do it in-app, which is pretty cool. Basically, the way that if you've ever updated the HomePod in there, it just shows an update and you tap it and it downloads it there. So it's kind of more integrated into the one spot instead of a big thing with HomeKit is you do end up having duplicate apps for most of them, most of the individual services anyways. So maybe you could hopefully get rid of some of those, but
this is
I don't know.
important.
That's kind of an IoT just problem with the experience overall is I have like 50 different apps for random things.
Exactly. And here's why this is incredibly important and why it's frustrating that this hasn't, because there were some apps that had implemented update notifications within the Home app, but not firmware updates. Here's why this bothers me, because I've done, super deep dives into the HomeKit process, into the HomeKit accessory protocol, into all of those files and documentation. And one of the things that Apple requires of its HomeKit manufacturers, anyone who wants to have the Works with HomeKit badge on their, Works with Apple HomeKit badge on their products and wants to sell it in Apple stores and things like that, they are required to make it so that you can set up the device without ever using any other app except for the Home app for Apple.
And that little code.
Yeah. And like, you don't need to launch a third-party app. You don't need to make an account. You don't need to do all of that. You have to be able to set up the device from step 1 to step 15, however many steps it is, within the Home app for iOS. So if that's the case, then why are you making it so that firmware updates have to happen in third-party apps and not in the Home app? That this has only just now come around. That's the part that's frustrating to me. I feel that should have been the case from the get-go, and I understand why it wasn't, because that would mean a lot less manufacturers on the HomeKit platform. But it still frustrates me, because if you're going to make it so that you can set up the app completely within the Home app, then later you make me have to download the app so that I can get firmware updates for it. That runs contrary to what I would expect. And I don't like it when things run contrary to what I expect. So, yeah.
I feel like more and more, we'll get to this later, but I feel like so much stuff has been waiting on something like Thread that they've needed for a while. And now that we're getting closer to that, it's some of these features that we would expect are now kind of baked in. One other thing in 14.3 that is cool is once you get the Apple Watch update, they have this is interesting. I think I'm interpreting it right, but it's saying there's cardio fitness notifications where it's basically, I think it's saying you're too active and you may limit yourself because, or maybe it's the opposite. I can't tell. Either it's your VO2 is too low and you're having limitations in your daily activity, or I thought it maybe was too high, but now that I'm rereading it, that might not. I feel like that doesn't often happen. It's like you're exercising too much.
Yeah.
Maybe they would have emphasized it that way. But yeah, I mean, the same thing. I've definitely noticed in times where, I've been less active in the last 6 months than I was, I'd say the 6 months before that, or I don't know exact time frames, but I noticed that some of the stuff is not as easy because I've been inactive. So I'd be interested to see this type of data over time. And it's kind of like, yo, you're being a little too lazy lately, kind of, but in a nice way. So here's ways you can improve your VO2 max, not you're heading in the wrong direction. Negative reinforcement doesn't work as well for health stuff, in my opinion, but yeah, pretty interesting features there.
This is another exciting addition. So I saw the article about it, and I immediately texted you to say that it was a feature that was rolling out. Philips Hue is adding adaptive lighting in HomeKit. So we talked a little bit about this when the Eve system added adaptive lighting to its light strip. Basically, what this does is it is a feature that's available within the Home app for iOS that lets you set up an automation where over the course of a day, the lights change color temperature is the best way to say it, rather than just color. And so when you first wake up, a brighter, cooler light is better because it is closer to the sun, the actual sun in terms of color temperature. So it's going to help wake you up. I promise not to go super in depth this time. But essentially, our brains are looking for that kind of light. And so it helps wake us up. But then to keep our circadian rhythm on track, over the course of the day, you should have less of that white light shining into your eyes, because then it starts to signal to the brain it's getting dark, it's getting dark outside, and you should start to get tired and wind down. So the lights will start to turn orange and get a little bit more orange, because yellow and orange are on the opposite side of blue on the color wheel. And so you will add more of that yellow-orange color, thereby taking out the blue, which is the light that signals to your brain that you should be awake and bright and ready to take on the day. So a very cool feature that I've been wanting to add to my setup. I went diving for my I can't think of it now. What's it called? Eve light strip. Still can't find it. It's somewhere. I don't know where it is. So I've been waiting for it. And then I saw that Philips Hue was adding this and that they were slowly rolling out the feature over the coming weeks. And every day I have automatic updates turned on for my bridge. And every day I've checked back and I still don't have it yet. But yeah, it'll be a firmware update to your Hue bridge. And then once you do that and you launch the Home app, then it will pop up and it will show that you can turn this on. And so you'll get a little notification that says adaptive lighting. Lights will choose an appropriate color for the right time of day. Dimming your lights will result in warmer light. Lights will always return to this color when the power is turned off and on. And then you get to choose which lights you actually want to do that with, so that it's not all the lights. And of course, The Verge is bragging to us by showing that they have it set up in one of their apps. So yeah, my Philips Hue bridge still says last updated in October 5th of 2020. Same. Please update, please.
Yeah, exactly. I wanted to. I don't think I realized that part though. Dimming your lights will result in warmer light. That's pretty interesting. Like if your light is at maximum, it will be brighter white, it sounds like, and then if it dims, it'll turn to more yellow. Like that kind of does make sense to me, because nobody wants the daylight lights when it's dim, when you can't see, because it's so harsh. It just like destroys your eyes. There was a problem in Berkeley when they swapped out the old incandescents for LEDs and they did it with white ones, and it kind of like ruined the quality of life in our living room, because it was just white light streaming into our house constantly. And when they switched them to slightly more color balanced ones, it was way nicer. So I think that detail is more interesting to me than throughout the day, the strength of it. But we'll have to wait and see how much that actually happens. Nice. This is cool. Again, awesome quality of life features, I think. But again, I need to upgrade to get these. So I intentionally bought ones that weren't this feature because I didn't find it as useful if I was going to have to manually change it. And it's like, I think half as expensive. So I have like 20 bulbs now that don't have this. So I might get a couple, but otherwise it is like a more expensive fancy feature.
Yeah. All right, let's take a quick break. I'm excited to tell you that this episode of Smart Tech Today is brought to you by Technology Powers X, an original podcast by Dell Technologies. Each episode of Technology Powers X focuses on a different industry and goes behind the scenes to help you understand how technology and IT departments are reshaping their businesses through AI, cloud, edge, intelligent devices, that's exciting, and more. I was able to get a sneak preview of Technology Powers X, and it is a really fascinating show because of the way that it dives into each of those little nooks and crannies. You know, it's not just here's our IT department and that's the end of it. To actually talk about computing on the edge, to talk about these Internet of Things devices and how they're being used in these specific instances. I was eating that stuff up for sure. And I think that you will too if you watch this show. One episode is all about theme parks and how they use sensors, massive amounts of data, and software to make riders safe, to make the rides more efficient, and for more fun. Another episode is about the technology behind F1 racing and how the legendary McLaren racing team uses technology to make decisions about pitting, tire selection, and racing strategies, both trackside and way back at their data center. And an upcoming episode talks all about vertical farming and how innovative new tech can change where our food comes from, and how this may be the future of sustainably feeding 21st century populations. Technology Powers X is hosted by Danielle Applestone, a hardware engineer and entrepreneur. And here is a clip from the episode, The Beer You Love.
Today at New Belgium, the ancient craft of brewing has an indispensable 21st century ingredient: hyperconverged infrastructure. That infrastructure supports almost every aspect of planning, marketing, sales, and distribution.
Listen to the whole episode to learn all about how technology powers beer at the New Belgium Brewing Company. Hello, New Belgium. Search for Technology Powers X anywhere you listen to podcasts and download each episode today. That's Technology Powers X. You should definitely download it today. My thanks to Technology Powers X for their support of this show and all of TWiT. All righty, let's talk first about, this is a hack that I have talked to some folks who've kind of been interested in adding smarts to their own systems. And I think that, as more people are getting these different products, they're kind of catching on. And that is the use of basically making multiple products smart very quickly by getting a smart surge protector, because a surge protector tends to have more than one plug. And when you add Wi-Fi connectivity to it, then suddenly you've got 3, 4, 5 plugs that are all able to be turned on and off with your voice, with an app, with whatever it happens to be. And you can sort of control all of those devices. I have one from Eve that sits behind my sofa in the living room and is connected to several different things. And they're each labeled independently within the Home app, and I can turn them on and off very easily. So it's just a smart and quick way to get that whole that whole smart home feel with a simple addition by plugging that thing into the wall, plugging the devices into it that you want to, and then you're good to go.
Yeah. These are awesome. I have the Eve one as well. I think I might actually move where I have it, but currently I'm using it. I have a electric drum set and a guitar amp next to it, and so I can have different. The drum set also has its own amp, and so I can turn on the drums as one of them that turns on the drum amp and the set, and then the other one is the guitar, and I can turn it all off, and I pair that with playing music on the speaker and stuff like that. So I can kind of just like sit down and it'll pull songs from a guitar playlist and turn on the speaker or the amp for me right away and stuff like that. So it's actually pretty awesome. But I'm curious that room. I know that I've talked about my janky heating system before, but it's almost entirely broken now. And that room doesn't have one at all. And so we just kind of like don't use it as much because it's getting a lot colder. So I might move that plug into the other room where we now have space heaters and stuff like that. Particularly because those have freaked me out a little bit. You can't really turn them on unless I have, now that I think about it, I have the, I can't remember the name. The one that has a little button that turns on my espresso machine. Smart Hub. I'm not going to do it live. But that can control the power of it. But if I could turn it off, that's the main thing, because I don't want to burn anything down. Those are always freaky with space heaters. So just knowing for sure that it's off, even if it's already manually been set to a timer and stuff, is another good peace of mind thing, because that can be dangerous. So using it to protect yourself is better than just playing music or something like that, even though that's fun too.
Yes, indeed. Something else that is started to roll out, and it's a feature that I continue to forget about, and then I will read an article headline that says, "Hey, Roku is adding AirPlay 2 and HomeKit to its devices," and I'm like, "Oh, I need to go get that set up," and then I'll forget about it again, and then I'll go, "Oh, I need to get that set up." I haven't done it yet, but hopefully I'll be able to do it right after this show, because I know I've got the firmware update, because as of, I think, I don't know, maybe earlier this week, when I, on my phone, whenever I tap in Control Center on the AirPlay option to choose my AirPods or to switch from the iPhone to my HomePod, for example, my television shows up, my TCL Roku TV shows up as an option for AirPlay to play to. So it's definitely a feature that I have, and I just have not gotten it set up yet. So I'm looking forward to getting that set up, because basically what happens is I don't use the TV itself. Like its menu, I basically turn on the TV by hitting the home button on the Apple TV, which launches the Apple TV, and then through HDMI CEC turns on the television. And so it immediately goes to the Apple TV home screen. So I don't ever actually see the TCL home screen where you have to go through to get this set up. But yeah, it's cool to have this feature available now. It has come to some other televisions in the past, but Roku announced that it was going to be bringing it to many of its devices, and that includes TCL devices. So yes, you'll be able to use both AirPlay and HomeKit. With AirPlay 2, you can play audio and video through to the television or whatever Roku device you have. And with HomeKit, it lets you control the Roku using your home app and using Siri. So very exciting. And according to The Verge, it's actually offering compatibility with the Google Assistant, with Alexa, and now with Siri. So all of them. And of course, the Apple TV app, which has been on the Roku for a while now.
Yeah, that's actually on Xbox and PlayStation now. So Apple's kind of, I don't know if it's complete or not, but they've been rolling this stuff out a lot over the last year, and it seems a lot more widespread, especially for it's a fairly affordable way to get a 4K streaming device now with Roku stuff. That's what I saw someone saying. He was like, I don't know why I would recommend something like the Apple TV itself over something like this, especially if you do get a HomePod mini that acts as a home hub itself. These have HomeKit support, but it's not a hub that allows you to control it outside of the home. So if you get, I was like, now that the HomePod mini is so cheap, you could get that and the Roku. And I'm curious if it probably doesn't connect to the HomePod itself as a speaker, but if you're looking for HomeKit support was the angle there. So pretty interesting. This is like a solid recommendation.
Yeah. All right, let's see. Oh, I got an email about this. Starling, the Starling Home Hub, which we've talked about before on the show, as the Homebridge plugin that sort of broke off as its own separate service, which allows you to connect your Nest products to your HomeKit enabled platform. Starling rolled out the Home Hub 7. And what I think is really fascinating about this is that it offers some features that aren't even available via the actual Google apps right now. Because because of the transition. And so I think that's, I don't know, there's something chef's kiss about that exactly. A third-party plugin is more equipped to handle things than than the actual services itself. So yeah, what is that feature that it has?
The part of it is that the Nest app isn't supporting it, but the Google Home one is, because they're kind of like moving away from the Nest thing, which is pretty wild. But you can do the activity zones in HomeKit and things like that, or all the performance is better too. It seems like a weird, very official but unofficial, still super unofficial way to get HomeKit stuff for the Nest devices. I'm curious how much Google is like, yeah, go for it. Like, we love it, and we don't actually want to support it officially.
Yeah, we don't have to do anything. So
yeah, seems like a pretty solid recommendation. It is like one of the remaining hubs that seems to be super worth it too, if you are in that zone, activity zone. I'm sorry.
Lord. All right, let's move on. So tell me about this small garden, a HomeKit enabled garden. How does this work?
It's one of those little desktop or countertop lights to grow some plants indoors kind of situation. But I think it's interesting. I saw the author Christopher Close tweeting about how he got one of these, and they have HomeKit support, but it's kind of like you can control the lights in HomeKit, and the rest of the features still do require the app. Kind of like we were saying before, you end up needing the third-party app for it too. But it's a little smart lighting system where you can control the lights and turn them on schedules and get alerts of how much water that's happening, specific things you need to do to grow those plants. So I'm interested in something like this. I've always been, we don't have a really great spot that gets enough light in our backyard to grow plants. And so I wanted something indoors. I don't know if since it seems like somewhat limited support for HomeKit, I'm not totally sure if it's worth $200 for it, but still seems pretty interesting if you're into that. And I'd like to see more of these types of products. So it'd be fun to test out.
For sure. Yeah. It's certainly interesting. I hope that, in the future, because HomeKit offers compatibility with faucets and with sort of different water things. You could also ostensibly make a soil sensor a humidity sensor and sort of, rig it up that way. So there would be ways to add the other smart sensors that are in the small garden to HomeKit. And so I wouldn't be surprised if Homebridge ends up working with the Eden Small Garden and thereby adding more functionality than what is already available. I think the thing that bothers me about these the most is the proprietary system that they tend to use. All these different smart gardens, or whatever you want to call them, light gardens, have pods that you have to buy from the company itself. And that's a little frustrating because it kind of it reminds me of Keurig or Colic.
Juicero, that's the one.
Yeah, exactly. That's the worst of them all. So I don't ever really like that. But I don't know, but I'm sure that I could probably hack them, unless it's like printer cartridges where it knows. It's like, this isn't basil. This is, you put in rosemary, and now I'm going to burn all of your plants, and it just fumigates them. I can't confirm that, but Nanoleaf is out with some new products. They had a recent announcement where they talked about its new triangles and mini triangles shapes, but it also announced that it was going to come out with some essentials that were less expensive than the more expensive products that it offers, that provide some of the more basic features that you'd want. So bulbs that are colorful, but don't do a whole lot, no touch enabled, no panel kind of thing. And then also light strip. They would offer a light strip. And so Nanoleaf has rolled out these products. They're available in a lot of different stores. And they are going to work with Thread, which is not a new technology, but a newer used technology that improves upon the smart home ecosystem. And we're going to talk about it shortly more, but you should know that the essential bulbs and light strips are available now.
Yeah, it does. I think the most exciting part is that it enables the color scenes and stuff like that. So I'm curious exactly what that means, because that's one of the things that I have with my LifeX strip is I have to go, if I want to do the color control that I want, I have to go into the third-party app, like I was saying. They do have even a shortcut, but it's one of the older APIs that also requires you to open the app. So I'm like, it's so close. But Thread stuff enabling deeper features with, I'm hoping, syncing into HomeKit would be cool. Like they're saying screen mirror and rhythm music sync available next month. And I think what's also important is these are $20 bulbs and $50 light strips. So that's super competitive. Like I trust
and
Nanoleaf a lot. Yeah, exactly. But I trust Nanoleaf a lot more than some of these, like, even though Maras and VocoLink both seem like pretty interesting ones, I hadn't even heard of them before 6 months ago, and we started talking about them on this show. So Nanoleaf is proven to have I'm not sure with the color fidelity specifically. I just don't have them, so maybe you can speak to that a little bit more. But these are in the Apple Store, so that's always a good sign too. It's like $50 is, man, I should maybe order one right now because I might have broken my LifeX one. I think I got to see, but I finally did all my cable management, but I think I leaned on it, and one strip, it's like losing some of the color.
Oh no, that's so sad. You did cut out a little bit, kind of but we heard that you leaned on it, and it's the colors cut out a little bit.
Yeah, it's a shame. We'll see. I can like push on it, and it kind of comes back. So I was trying to be like, and then like hope it works. Just tap on it and get it to the, like, some tiny little piece seems disconnected, but I don't know. I think it's okay. It's only, I think on red, it shows just very red as opposed to having some other colors. So I think it can, because there's multiple LEDs. But yeah, the Thread support is super interesting, especially lower costs. If that really does mean that HomeKit stuff is going to be lower cost in the future, that's really exciting because I don't want to spend $130 on light strips. Like, that's way too much. It is pretty wild that didn't theirs go up for the TV? They've always kind of been
incredibly
in up market, I'll say, instead of down market. So
yeah,
they're leaning into that while Nanoleaf is like, hey, let's get everybody else and get all these cool panels and YouTubers basically.
And it offers gradient technology, but you don't have access to it. You can't control the gradient. You can't. It's really frustrating. Like, I want to have a word.
Hughes
honestly.
Does? Yeah.
Yeah, I need to know who to talk to there.
Okay.
All right, let's see. Up next, let's take a quick break because I got to tell you about another new sponsor. This episode of Smart Tech Today is brought to you by ArmorLock. This is so cool. The privacy of your data is constantly being threatened. We know this. Imagine if your valuable media files or important documents were stolen and got into the wrong hands. That's obviously a problem. People want to know that their content is safe now more than ever. G Technology gives you professional grade storage solutions that empower studios, professional photographers, videographers, and editors to thrive in high pressure creative environments. G Technology's ArmorLock encrypted NVMe SSD, that's solid state drive, and app deliver high grade data security with pro grade performance that's super simple for anyone to use. It's easy to unlock with your phone, leveraging modern-day digital experiences. It's just like digital door locks, digital car keys, or digital hotel keys. With ArmorLock, your phone is your key. You don't have to remember passwords or download software on your Mac that slows you down. You just open the ArmorLock app on your phone, or you can get it on the Mac. You tap the button to unlock, and off you go. ArmorLock's SSD is built to withstand the rigors of travel, being shipped, or accidentally dropped. It's ultra rugged for max durability and reliability. In fact, it's IP67 dust and water resistant. Best of all, this SSD is equipped with high-grade 256-bit AES XTS hardware encryption, so you know your data has the best protection out there. ArmorLock leverages the biometric authentication that you already have set up on your phone, making unlocking the drive a frictionless experience. You no longer have to compromise speed for security. ArmorLock gives you both simultaneously, ensuring you get the high-grade security you deserve with the pro-grade speeds your workflow demands. Collaboration is key when working on productions or team projects, so ArmorLock lets you control who gets access to the drive, even if they're in a different location. You can easily authorize remote users prior to shipping the drive, and once it arrives, it's ready to unlock and use. Because they manufacture their own flash technology and SSDs, you can be confident that their products are built from the ground up with specifically selected elements to create the best, most consistent product experience. And get this, they recently won the Consumer Innovation Award at the Flash Memory Summit. The last thing you need is leaked films and lost or stolen drives. Take control of your data privacy with G Technology's ArmorLock NVMe SSD, a solid-state drive. Go to getarmorlock.com to learn more and get yours today. That's getarmorlock.com. This thing is very, very cool. A solid-state drive that is IP67 dust and water resistant, but also that you just pop open the app, you do the authorization, and then it's ready to go. And what's super cool, too, is that you can plug it into your computer, and until you authorize, your computer doesn't even see it. That authorization has to happen first. That means that it is locked in there. It is encrypted. It is a very cool and zippy quick system from G Technology. So check out the ArmorLock. So cool. GetArmorLock.com. All righty. It is time to talk about Thread. Folks, let's buckle up. So Thread has been around for a while. It is a technology that was created as it was a not-for-profit group that was put together by Google and some other companies. Apple ended up joining the group a little bit later on, and that'll be important in a minute why we're talking about Apple in relation. But it was started up, and it was essentially a way to take a technology that kind of already existed, this ability to communicate with devices over IP, chip, you heard of that, and to use that as kind of the ground level, paving the way for a smart home that was connected and that had the ability to heal itself and repair itself and communicate with other devices without any issue. So if you can, just sort of, you don't have to close your eyes, but listen closely. You walk into a room and it's dark, it's dank, there's dust in the air, there's someone sort of breathing very heavily. The smell in the room is as if this person has been in there for 2 weeks working on something, not taking many breaks, not getting much sleep. You see that while the whole room is dark, there's one area, one wall that has light shining through it, sort of from the boarded up windows. The light shines through. You can see the dust in the air in those beams of light. But that light that's pouring through sort of frames this entire wall and lights it up. And on this wall are all of these photos, all of these maps, all of these notes, all of this stuff, and connecting each of these different points across this entire wall are these red strings. And it looks like someone is trying to understand the entire history of the I don't know, the Declaration of Independence and the secret treasure that is hidden somewhere in the world. And the only way they can do this is by connecting these different topics together. So think about that red thread that is connecting all of these different pieces across this entire wall. Folks, that is what Thread is. It is a technology used to create a mesh network in your home with smart devices. And while it has been around for a while, it is just now kind of getting to a place where more companies are using it. More companies are starting to make it available. And it's kind of being billed as the way that smart home technology should communicate. I had mentioned before, and then Matthew, it's your turn, but I just wanted to mention this because I had mentioned before that I was worried that the new Eero device, it didn't say that it had Thread built into it, just that it had ZigBee. And so I was a little worried about that. But when I got the actual device itself, the specs on the box said it had Thread. And then there was also still in the app an option to make sure that the Thread radio was turned on. So Eero still has Thread, and many of these devices, including the new HomePod Mini, are adding Thread.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's kind of felt low key to me. And I think maybe it was because of when I specifically entered I'll say the nerdier side of the smart home market by doing this show with you and trying to learn all about it in more depth, because I do come from more of the automation side, and Thread kind of didn't seem as popular, but it has still been around. And ZigBee was the one that we've always been talking about a lot. But I think it's kind of Thread is what the next layer of the home devices are going to be built off of, at least. I think the PChoip conversation is still ongoing, but I think this is going to be one of the major layers that adds it to, that connects all your devices together. And I think it's part of, we have another article in here from CNET, which is basically about how the smart home hub died, but the HomePod, Echo, and Nest are reincarnating that idea through Thread. So I think a lot of the first wave of smart home things, I don't know how many waves there have been, but I'm just going to say before now and after now, there was just like a lot. You had to have those hubs. Maybe you have multiple different hubs, and a lot of that stuff it was a lot of hardware too. And I think even in terms of business models, some of these companies have been running off of selling the hardware and not the service around it. And so in many ways, you're incentivized to sell somebody the hub in addition to the product itself. So it's kind of been in that realm, and also required for the level of connectivity, just how many devices can connect all on one radio kind of situation. I know that the more I start to count it up, I'm like, oh my God, how many different things are on mine? And I mean, they can handle 350. Thread can, at least. That was an interesting article from Stacy on IoT from even a couple of years ago, is talking about how the big thing with Thread networks is that each new Thread thing expands that network together. And even just because they automatically adopt the protocol without you having to do anything, it's going to be a really seamless experience. Like, I'm pretty sure the second you just turn on the HomePod Mini, suddenly it'll be using that more, or the devices will switch over automatically. So some of that ease of smart home use is not, that sentence is like never used, because it's almost always a giant pain. So hopefully that can, especially with the HomePod controlling, or the Home app controlling the updates as well, you could just kind of, maybe we can start to get away from, you're still always going to need the third-party apps, but maybe you won't have to go in there as much and just download them and use them in the background or something like that. But I think it's a very interesting time, because all of these products are adopting Thread for the first time. And like we were saying, it's weird now to buy something that would not support this, because then you're kind of putting a end of life on that product at some point, where if everything does switch over, you might be kind of left out, or features that you couldn't take advantage of. So, but I think it's also not totally clear for device manufacturers how much they can update stuff that has ZigBee radios in it and all of the other capabilities to add HomeKit or add Thread support, because that's what Eve is doing with a few of their products, but not all of them. So some of them, like the Door and the Energy, and then later the Aqua and the Thermo, which I haven't tested, those will all be able to get Thread support too, which is, especially for little products like that are further away from where a hub would be. Now it kind of doesn't matter, because each little thing can provide that mesh network, and hopefully you're not going to have any disconnect out in the yard or something like that, because it's a leapfrog game of passing across the connection. And like, if one dies, they can reroute it and all that. So
yes. That connectivity, I think, is the big thing. And I think it's going to reduce frustration in homes where you would normally have that frustration. I think that's the big role that this will play, where people have trouble getting stuff to connect or stay connected. And the latency, I think we can't discount the latency. The article that we talked about where, let's see, is it Apple? Yeah, Apple Insider. Andrew O'Hara has this article about Thread, and one of the things that they talk about is latency. So latency for Bluetooth, meaning I push a button that tells my light switch to turn off, and my light switch is connected via Bluetooth. It can take between 80 to 800 milliseconds. That's a long time, potentially, when you're used to just switching a switch and immediately it turns on or off, because it's a matter of taking away electricity or adding back the electricity, basically completing the circuit or disconnecting the circuit. Mm-hmm. So when you're used to that, you want that thing to happen quickly. With Bluetooth, a lot of times you push the button and then and then it does the thing. That's not good. ZigBee is a lot faster. That's what we're used to with Philips Hue. It's 50 milliseconds to 230 milliseconds. That is fast enough for me in most cases to not notice a difference, because as I've said before, I love the Philips Hue motion sensor because of how quick it is to hear and communicate, hey, you need to do this thing. That's 50 to 230 milliseconds. Thread is but 40 to 120 milliseconds. That is incredibly fast in comparison. So what you're going to get with that is a more robust system because of its self-healing nature and its way to sort of make its way around walls that are hard to communicate through because of whatever the wall is made of, or bodies, which are mostly water, to communicate through. So it's going to be able to communicate with devices better. And then also it's going to do it faster. This is what we want as a smart home protocol. So I think this is great.
Mm-hmm. Especially if it does enable more and more features from apps on top of that, not just the connectivity too. But I mean, that's, like you said, most important. I know for sure that my motion sensor, it is ironic too that I just realized it is made by Eve, but even still, because it works over Bluetooth, the little orb thing that I have in the background of my shot is always the last one to turn off in my office. And so sometimes it's like, it is like a little nightlight for a second, and it's kind of a weird comfort thing. I like know that all the rest of them are off, and then that last one is like, okay, now I made it. But having it all be instant is super important. I'm curious how much that's given Echo devices an advantage because they were using ZigBee, and if this levels the playing field a little bit. Like that would be a good thing to test now that I think about it with HomePod, or the HomePod Mini, is just how fast is it? Siri stuff, especially compared to the regular HomePod. I wonder if I could, like, how do you properly test that? I could have my thing, I'd say it to both speakers at once. Yeah, exactly. There's not a perfect way because of the disambiguation, but maybe I'll time it with a slow motion camera.
Yeah, that might be how you have to. Yeah. I don't know. Thread is in its early days in terms of, because it's kind of been, they made it and they need people to adopt it. And so now they're in that phase where people are adopting it before they can kind of iterate on it. But Stacy on IoT has that article about the Stacy on IoT website. And actually, it was Stacy Higginbotham who wrote this one. And it talks about Thread 1.2, which she says is more like Thread 2.0. This is you got to get people kind of buying into this. And now you really do have all the big companies buying into it. So they can start to build upon that technology and make it even better. You should anybody who's interested in Thread should definitely read this article. Stacy covers this so well. This line here, in its initial version, it is talking about Thread. It used the same underlying radio as ZigBee and was a mesh protocol like ZigBee and Z-Wave, but could speak, in quotes, directly to IP networks and the overall internet as opposed to going through a gateway. Yes, the loss of a bridge is a big thing that I think people, those of us who are just, basking in the beauty of the smart home, don't quite pay attention to as much as we should. The friction that is involved with bridges That's one more port that I have to take up on my router. A lot of these modern routers, these mesh routers, don't have a whole lot of extra ports, so you got to buy a switch so that you can have that hub. Some people don't know that they need a hub, so they buy these products and then later realize that they needed a hub to go with it, or a bridge, depending on what you call it.
Yeah, phone.
All of these things play into it. And so a technology that doesn't need a bridge, doesn't need a hub in the way, that actually takes a lot of friction out of the game and makes the Internet of Things feel less exclusive and sort of confusing and difficult to implement, and makes it a little bit easier, I think. It's, of course, also low power. So you can have devices that are battery powered and still be able to communicate with them. And so this is interesting too, because Stacy writes that this is kind of this new version of Thread is the company's next chance to really push forth this protocol. So with the original one, it was, like I said, it was kind of courting people, getting them into it, getting companies into it. And Thread 1.2 is really that chance to just go all the way with it. There are changes so that it works on the enterprise corporate front, so that you can have a whole system built, a whole what it's like a smart manufacturing hub, which is very cool. And you can do that, with a whole bunch of devices.
Especially, you're saying like enterprise setup for 300 lights is going and scanning HomeKit codes. Each one by one is not an acceptable process. My mom she's a school librarian, and she did setup of, I think, 5,000 Chromebooks one summer, and it was just unboxing and turning it on and pressing update, but it just takes like 3 months because it's so many. So that kind of thing is definitely part of the problem. And I mean, this article too is a good detail, but this is from June last year. And so I think now it's kind of like these companies have stamped Thread, it seems like, as the thing to adopt for now, and hopefully is what is the PCHOI transition, and they're just going to kind of roll it out and it'll already be working, as opposed to here, now it's here, and then you have to update all your devices, which is one of the best types of strategies. Is it's just like, oh, by the way, all of your devices that you've bought in 2021 or late 2020 all have Thread support, and then now we can do all this fancy stuff. So I'm pretty excited. It's always hard to tell with IoT stuff because things like to change and companies' priorities shift and things like that. But I hope this is that big transition and will just kind of already be set up, as opposed to what I was worried about, where, I mean, the hardware of the products itself will still have to support Thread and things like that, but you'll already have a hub that is like, that's why HomeKit hubs haven't actually been like a separate hub that you need. I mean, it is Apple TV or the HomePod thing just for a always on product, but you haven't had to buy a HomeKit hub specifically that just does that. And now these can continue that psychological. It's just like, as long as you have a powered Apple product, it'll act as that HomeKit base and not another $50 hub. Like you said, the internet, the ports, when you were talking about that, I was like, because that's exactly, all of mine are positioned specifically because of where my Ethernet outlets are, or I have 2 switches now in my house. So nobody should have to do that in 2020 unless you really need hardwired internet. So this is great. This is awesome stuff. I love that it's in these versions. So it makes sense too with the HomePod and HomePod Mini strategy, because HomePod itself, you might have 1 or 2 for your TV setup plus HomePod Minis. I don't need to replace mine because it's missing one, and that's pretty nice. So I feel like this is a win for consumers, the IoT space, and the businesses all alike. And hopefully all of those, like you said, those major issues that everybody just assumes. I mean, like the premise of this show is that it's all confusing to set up. So maybe we'll have to change our tagline once Thread makes everything that much easier. And we're just like, here's all this awesome stuff. Let's have fun.
There you go. here's all this awesome stuff. Let's have fun. In fact, I've got an awesome stuff to tell you about to have fun with. And that is
awesome stuff. You did the portal thing.
I'm
like
trying
Siri.
to be like Siri. Yeah. Here's an awesome stuff. Command Line Heroes, who are bringing you this episode of Smart Tech Today. Command Line Heroes is a podcast that shares with you the epic true tales of developers, programmers, hackers, geeks, and open source rebels who have and still are revolutionizing the technology landscape. Season 6 is now available, and this season, Command Line Heroes tells you all about the stories of Black technologists who innovated and invented despite systemic racism, unfair hiring practices, and unequal education opportunities. There's an episode that I listened to all about Gladys West, whose mathematical models and data analysis paved the way for GPS. Another episode tells the story of Jerry Lawson, who invented the first cartridge-based video game console, paving the way for Atari, for Nintendo, and for Sega. And listen to the story of Mark Dean, who was raised in the Jim Crow South and grew up to revolutionize the PC industry with the ISA bus. Command Line Heroes is hosted by developer and podcaster Sargent, and it's available right now. In fact, like I said, I got a sneak peek of season 6, and that's where I learned about Gladys West. One of the things that I really like, though, even just aside from the podcast, you've just got to go to the website, regardless of any of this, because on the Command Line website, Command Line Heroes website, they make these amazing little 3D renderings of these characters as if they're action figures. And so you can actually see like Gladys West as a little action figure with GPS technology in there. And so it's almost as if you could open up the package and have these little action figures. I kind of want Command Line Heroes to make them real so that I can order all of these awesome Black action figures of these people who have shaped technology in the way that they have. I don't know about you, but like all of this was so inspiring to listen to. You can check out all the incredible stories from season 6 today. Search for Command Line Heroes anywhere you listen to podcasts. That's Command Line Heroes. Download it today. Our thanks to Command Line Heroes for their support of Smart Tech Today. Alrighty, Matthew, what is your pick of the week?
My pick of the week is a super fun and exciting action that has returned to the Shortcuts beta. I think it was developer beta 1 and maybe 2, but that was it, of iOS 13. They added a set wallpaper action that would enable people to automate the lock screen and home screen backgrounds on your phone or iPad. And I was immediately like, this is awesome, because I have one specific background that I love, and I want to, first of all, be able to reset that to my preferred background exactly how I like it at any time if I ever change it, because that's one thing that always happens is you change your home screen and then you're like, oh my God, what did I do? Where was that photo? I can never get back. But obviously the cooler part too is being able to switch it on command, and I really want to see this come to changing the home screen scene too, or the specific page, but being able to set up a shortcut with an automation at any time of day and have like your morning wallpaper or your night wallpaper or light mode, dark mode kind of thing. Sounds super cool. I think right now in this beta, it does seem like you have to confirm the change, but I'm hoping that that's something that Apple gets rid of, because it's kind of kills some of the fun of the automation potential, but it seems inevitable to me. But that's super exciting. It's been one of those, I don't think they've ever given us an action and then kind of took it away, because I think what happened was people would try to put a video as their background and it would crash. It would try to, like, iOS didn't know what to do. And so it was just like, oh God. So now I think it just takes a still of a video if you try to load that in or something. So that's nice. It's awesome to see, because I think that'll be super. There's tons of creativity things. Last summer I tweeted like, hey, everybody take some photos for your backgrounds, because get ready, you'll be able to set these. And then I still get people who reply to me on that tweet being like, where is this? And I'm like, oh God, they took it away. I'm so sorry. Like, it's literally like a year and a half later, people are still looking for that action. So it's pretty exciting. It's just a fun shortcuts feature and a cool way to change up your device. And I want to work with some designers or photographers, and get some cool backgrounds and kind of make it all perfectly framed so you can just run these shortcuts and have your background change automatically. Pretty neat.
Yeah.
And that'll all be free as part of the shortcuts. 14 or iOS 14.3, which I have no idea when iOS releases come out right now, but probably they usually go through 4 or 5 betas every other week. So I guess that sounds like maybe sometime in January, but if you want to get on the public beta too, they have it.
All right. So for me, I am talking about an addition to a product that I already have. So let me grab it here. So I got, we've talked about it before, the Oculus Quest 2. I think it was a pick of the week for both of us at one point. I ended up getting the carrying case, and it is a very strange egg case. It's like this felted case that it all fits in very easily. The reason why this is not my pick of the week is because it's very odd, and while it feels like it would be able to hold the device well, I think that there are better things you could put it in that would keep it more safe. But given that I'm not doing any traveling or anything like that, this feels good enough to just sort of sit in the home and keep the lenses from getting any sunlight on them, because that's very, very, very important.
Okay.
So what
I'm moving mine right now. I didn't know that was a problem.
Oh, yeah. For anybody who has an Oculus Quest 2, don't let sunlight onto the lenses as much as you possibly can. So direct sunlight, of course, is worse than anything. If they're just sitting in a room that has sunlight in it, that's okay. But you will do better to put them in the dark than to have them out. I don't know why that's the case. That's just the case. Yeah. And so the thing that I want to talk about, though, is everybody's face is a little bit different. That's why Face ID on the iPhone works. And because of that, the way that you fit into a universally shaped device like the Oculus Quest 2 headset is going to be a little bit different, and it may not be the perfect fit for you. So Oculus sells for $39. They've made off of me on top of what they've already made off of me. A Oculus Quest 2 Fit Pack. And within the Fit Pack, you get a few products. One is one that I think that they should have just included in general, but again, they didn't. And that is a special little snap-on silicone covering that goes, wow, let me see if I can't pop this out of here, that goes over each of the eyepieces. Whoops, I just dropped it. This little snap-on thing basically is made so that there's a little part that sticks out a little bit farther than the rest of it. And it goes so that it's kind of right below your eye, right between the bridge of your nose and the lower part of your eye, meaning that it helps to block sunlight that comes up through that nose area on the Oculus Quest 2.
That's cool.
So yeah, it's called a light blocker, and they snap onto the eyeball lenses. I'm sure there's an actual name for these, but I can't think of it at the moment. And so those snap on there very easily. And it was pre-manufactured for those snap-ons, which is why I say they should have just included these, because I think anyone would benefit from the light blockers. But the other part that it comes with are different foam pads that go around the outside of the frame. So people may not know, or they may know, I don't know, that this part that goes around the outside of the headset actually comes off. And there are different versions of it that fit different faces. So the one that comes with it is like, again, it's universal. It's sort of medium. And there's also a narrow width. It's got a little N on it for a head that's narrow. And then there's one that has a W on it, and that's for a head that is wider. And so you can try these out and feel which one seems to work better for you. And then the idea is that it closes you off from the light worse or better. And you want
And
it
it's
to obviously
stylish
close
as a
off.
standalone
Yes,
product as
check
well.
this out. And
We'll have to tweet that out
this
or
is
something.
high fashion,
it looks
folks.
ridiculous.
Let's see if I can just sort of keep it up there. Yeah, there we go. So depending, depending on the design, one of those works better. And I'm somewhere between a narrow and an average. Unfortunately, though, the reason why I ended up getting these is, as I mentioned, I am pretty sensitive to the NVR motion. I can't play the games that have like the comfort rating that's a little bit higher. I get sick too easily. But my partner is able to play those games. But his problem is that he can see the light out of the bottom of the case pretty. Like he will lift his head and then I can see his eyeballs looking out. Yeah. So I got the Fit Kit for him, hoping that we would be able to make the experience a little bit better for him. What's interesting is that even with the light blockers and with the narrow frame, he still can see through the bottom and has a lot of light leakage. So what I want them to do eventually, and what I hope that people who know how to do this kind of thing is either Oculus itself makes some way to do a sizing kit where you can actually get the right size and they will send you it. Or what I'd really like to see is one of those sites where you can order 3D printed products that someone will make custom ones. So I can send you my face, my perfectly scanned 3D face, and it will make a fit just for you.
Especially with the
if you're
iPhone,
out there, yeah, exactly. And that's what, so Leo, he wanted, there's a product that you put on a face mask and then you put this product over the face mask and it basically holds it to your face really well. So it sort of seals it off and makes it so that it doesn't fog up your glasses or anything like that. And it kind of looks like a Bane mask a little bit. But the way that he was able to do that was with the phone, he scanned his face and then sent that off, and then they printed it with a dental material and then sent it to him. And so if they can do that, then I could send someone a 3D scan of my face and have them make it perfectly fitted. So if you're out there and you do 3D printing, hit me up, let me know. I'm serious about this. I really would love to have a custom shaped Oculus Quest 2 faceplate so that I can have a perfect experience in VR, because I think that would also help me with the sickness. And then he, too, with his narrow face, would be able to do it as well. So, yeah, for many people, this $39 Fit Pack will do just fine. But for some people, it's not all the way there. And I'd love to have it be all the way there. But I will complain and say that these light blockers will help anyone with the VR experience. And so I'm really kind of annoyed. And you can see them here on the edge. For folks who are listening, I'm just showing this would be helpful to anybody who's looking in VR. And so I'm kind of annoyed that they didn't include those, especially given the fact that along the outside of these lenses, you can see little ridges where these get popped on. So it's clear that they designed it to work with these. So the fact that they didn't include them and decided to make them an extra, a little annoying. I mean, how much does silicone cost,
They had to hit that price point, though. I'm sure that was a big thing.
Apple.
The first low cost. I mean, this is Facebook, but
I know. I'm just saying, Apple. We had to hit that price point, but it's green, so that's why we didn't include a power adapter in the box.
Oh man, I'm curious how much that's going to be annoying, because some of my chargers don't work anymore. But I'm interested in this too, especially I'm curious. They're going to do a 90 hertz motion update soon.
Yes,
that will increase
it's actually
the frame rate.
out.
So I'm curious. Oh, nice. Okay, I'm curious if that will help you at all or make it worse. One or the other.
Yeah, I'm hoping it helps. But yeah, it could also make it worse. I have actually not. This week, I have not been playing much with VR because there's just been so much to do.
I will say,
go ahead.
At one point, my girlfriend accidentally came in while I was playing and went behind me, and I was
Karate
really
chopped?
thrown off. Well, no, I was really scared, first of all, that was going to happen. Like, I was legitimately got really freaked out because I was like, I could have just punched you in the head, like, with not even realizing it. But I think it threw me off and like unbalanced me for a couple of hours because it was like something entered the virtual space, especially behind me, and it just like broke the illusion. Freaky. And I was like, oh God. Like, so
one of my
maybe
favorite
the little eye things would help.
Yeah, one of my favorite things that has improved the experience for me is there's an optional feature that you can turn on where you double tap on the side of the side of the headset anywhere, and it turns on that that mode where you can see things around you, the thing that you use to like set up a barrier. I can't think of what that's called, but yeah, it turns it on at any time. And so because I have 2 small dogs and the biggest space that I have is my living room, that's helpful because if I start to get a little anxious, like, oh boy, are they going to be at my legs? I can double tap and see, oh no, they're doing what they normally do, which is just loafing on the couch. But that way I know I'm not accidentally.
Just so you know.
Pass through. Thank you. Yes.
Yeah.
You can turn on pass through. So I hope they make that feature not like an experimental one and just make it a one that anyone can use. We are out of time, and that means it's time to say goodbye. If you have questions for us, I've seen a few questions, so I'm starting to collect those. So get your questions in. We'll do another Q&A episode soon. You email those. It's so simple. It's stt@twit.tv. Send it there and we will happily answer your question. So yeah, if you haven't gotten one in, get one in because we'll do another Q&A episode soon. We record this show. If you want to watch us live, we record it every Monday at 11 a.m. Pacific. You just head over to twit.tv/live to check it out. But the best way to get this show is by subscribing. If you head to twit.tv/STT, you can subscribe to the show in both audio and video formats. We're available on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, Upcast, Downcast, Surroundcast, Over the Topcast. We're everywhere you want to be and are. So please do subscribe to the show. That way you don't have to wait for us to be coming live. You can get the new episode as soon as it's available. If folks want to follow you online and see all the great work that you are doing, Matthew, where do they go to do that?
This week, you should follow me on YouTube because as soon as I get my HomePod Mini in, I'm going to do an unboxing video, and also I'm going to build the new daily agenda thing that they have. I'm going to make a shortcuts version that you can use without asking Siri. So that should be fun. What about you?
And yeah, if you're looking for me online, you can find me pretty much everywhere at Mikah Sargent, or as Renee Ritchie says, /Mikah Sargent. Of course, he says /Renee Ritchie. But the point is, I think that's a great way to say it because on all the things, I'm pretty much just at Mikah Sargent. You can also head to chihuahua.coffee. That's CHIHUAHUA.coffee for links to all the different places I exist online and just a bunch of photos of my dogs there at the end of the site. Folks, that means it is time to say good afternoon to all of your smart assistants.
Good morrow.
Good morrow, sir. Good morrow, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Jason Howell, host of All About Android. Each week, I'm joined by my co-hosts Ron Richards and Florence Ion, as well as a whole rotating cast of guests, journalists in the Android space, experts, developers, and even people working on Android behind the scenes at Google. We talk about everything that has to do with Android, and you don't want to miss a single episode so you know what's going on behind the scenes. That's twit.tv/AAA. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss an episode.